That is Mandisa. And God is still working on me here on J-Love. I like that J-Love. Get it, Johnny?
Yep.
No, I don't get it.
K-Love, J-Love.
No. J-Lo. All right, so I have a surprise. Ready?
Oh, let me
Can
get
you
the
hear
right
me?
mic on. Now we got it. Go ahead.
Okay, I have a surprise. Ready? Are we on Facebook?
Yeah, it looks like so.
Hey.
Isn't it ironic because he's getting ready to call via Skype?
We'll see if it comes through. But
There you go.
what do you think?
I think it's nice. I like that. I like that. That's a nice tribute.
Read
there.
it. Read it, Dave.
Surge Radio's DJ Whammy. And something, I can't see who wrote it.
Okay, but anyway, a prayer for Surge. Now everyone knows I'm Catholic, so I'm going to start with the Hail Mary. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Well, of course the Lord was with her. She gave birth to him. The Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Oh, in the Hail Mary, we bring up Jesus. Oh, what a neat thing. Of thy womb, Jesus. And really, he was the best thing. Of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God. If you think God is Jesus, well, then Mother of God. Pray for us sinners. I ask everyone to pray for me. Will you pray for me?
Absolutely.
Pray for us sinners now at the hour of our death. Amen. And you know what? People are criticizing Mary less and less. Now, if you know me, here's the deal. I'll put this up here because that is a thing of Serge. Serge had to move to Chile, and he left all these things.
He's on the phone.
He's on the phone. Hang on. And so I want him to see that we kept, so that it didn't get destroyed, a great picture that someone took a lot of time. But here's the thing. Hail Mary, please take care of Serge in a very Catholic place. But here's what I want to say. So I don't have cable, right? So I don't have that cable bill. Amen. So I was looking through, and then, okay, channel 4, my service, even that on the antenna, it said no service. And, because I like to watch Judge Judy and the news. Okay, well, then I went to 9. Well, then I went to 16, which was TBN. But TBN, that doesn't ever say anything about Mary because they all want to just say about Jesus. No Mary, okay?
Which they should.
Well, here's the thing. Roma Downey, who has practiced religion and prayed and prayed and prayed, and she said the most interesting thing about Mary, because what they wanted to do, they did want to focus on Jesus and the cross. But the story that she took away is she played Mary, not Mary as his mother as far as the birth and all that, but Mary as his mom at the cross. And, I've been Catholic my whole life. And so it is so interesting to get perspective from people that are not Catholic, that have not heard the role of Mary, because I have my own preconceived things that she was so blessed, so perfect with him. And I still believe that. But what I never put together was when she was at that cross, and I know she studied it and studied it and studied it to play the part, she took away, and she said this on TBN, and they all started talking about Mary. I couldn't believe it. I was like, am I at a Catholic reunion? Because it sounded so Catholic, which Catholic means universal. So Mary and Jesus are obviously universal. It's us that want to say, well, it's just Jesus, no Mary. It's just Mary, no Jesus. I mean, everyone wants to do their own, but it's all of us because we're all supposed to be family, or we're supposed to be. Anyway, a priest on KCXL said something, the most interesting thing, which was the Middle East was Catholic and Christian. They were the original Catholics and Christians, and Jesus was there, the original Christian. It is people that were against Jesus and against Christianity that drove them out and brought in the Muslim faith, which I never even thought of that, because through my whole life, the Middle East has been Muslim and Jewish, and nothing about Christian except for them being persecuted and driven out. And Palestinians, I never thought of that. It was originally, Christian. Can you imagine that? And a priest, a Catholic priest, said that. But to me, that rings so true that they had to flee, and they still do. And they still do in parts of Africa. Now I wonder, and this is just me, I don't think I should say, well, I'm going to say it. I wonder in this country, in my lifetime, will we ever see Christians having to flee here? I don't think so, because I think we are a Christian nation. But I'll tell you what, on this abortion thing, if we're going to crucify Trump because he's going to be pro-life, well, then he needs to be crucified, because here's the thing. He will be so abundantly blessed, because I'm going to tell you what, thinking of the world as the way it is and everything that is happening, it wasn't God set up on the abortion. I'll tell you that. It was some rich Jewish, and most of them are Jewish doctors. And I'm saying that and standing by that, because my kid is in med school and there are so many Jewish doctors, and how the Jewish people feel that they can just abort babies and get fetuses and do what they want. And that we have a Catholic show on that says now they are actually using it in fluids. They're using the fetuses in fluids for different things. To me, we're on the right track. Relevant radio is wonderful because they're hitting issues that are so important as a Catholic, which means universal, Christian, which you either are or you're not, universal position. Because you can be Muslim or non-Catholic and agree that we're not allowed to use fetal parts for fluids for saving people. It's a contradiction. You don't get to kill someone to save someone. And if you say it is, and you say Trump's evil, well, then I'm in the camp with Trump, because Trump took a stand on life. And you know what? If we all are Catholic and universal and we're all family, then he's my Christian brother. And if he made a mistake with Russia, so be it. But I'm going to tell you what, the position we were in with Russia, with Obama and all the flights coming close, why not get off his butt and get over there and talk to him and see what you're facing? Why not get off your butt and go to Korea and meet someone face to face? Maybe that will be the last decision that's made. You know, do I really want to send a bomb over there? Or do I want to go meet with him and sit there? So all the criticism going to Trump, and then I'm going to let you speak on all of this. But Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou among women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death, amen. Because we need all the help. We need everyone praying for everyone. And I do love it that Roma Downey, who played the mother of Jesus at his crucifixion, said she thought he was there, that Mary was there through the birth, because he was going to be killed by Herod, through his life, and at the death, because this really makes me think that maybe when Jesus looked down, if we believe he got on the cross and he looked down, there was someone down there that he could get strength to continue. Maybe if Mary wouldn't have been there, he couldn't have made it. Maybe him looking down at Mary gave him the strength and the fortitude, and maybe, we're not taking calls today, so don't call in. Maybe Mary did give him the strength, because just let's look at the strength. To get on a cross, I think you need strength. So I'm going to let you comment on that, and if you want to introduce Serge.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's no secret here, folks, if you've heard me on this show before, that although I love and respect Jonne, she and I are completely 100% fundamentally different. I'm not Catholic. I am a born-again Christian. And with all this Mary stuff, she was the mother of Jesus, yes, but she died a human's death like everyone else. She cannot hear your prayers. She can't help you. It's only Jesus that can help you. And as far as his strength to go get on the cross, yes, he needed his mother throughout his life. I won't contest that. Every person needs their parents throughout their lives. but his true strength came from the Father above who sent him, who he was there with in creation. That's who the God was talking to in the beginning in Genesis when he said, let us make man in our own image. He was talking to the Son, Jesus Christ, and maybe even the Holy Spirit, because the three are one. So if you do not know Christ as your personal Lord and Savior, I encourage you to accept him today, because he is the only one, and we have to put him above all else. Not Mary, not any other former religious leader or whatever, because Christianity is not. It is not, and did I mention, is not a religion. It's a relationship with our risen Savior. And as far as Trump, yes, I'm a Trump supporter. I voted for him. Okay, I'm sorry if anybody doesn't like that. He is the president of the United States. I also respect his office. Okay, and the Bible tells us that we are to be in submission to the laws of men, even when we don't like those laws, because there is no authority on earth that God, even though they may not be the right kind of person, that God has not allowed. Even when Obama was in office, I respected his office. I didn't go out all against him. Sure, when he got elected, I was like, darn, but then I went on with my life. Other than that, I respected his office. He's the president. I've worked as a civilian employee in law enforcement before, so obviously we have to respect the authorities above us. And Kim Santarelli, welcome.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good.
Do we have Jonne Cobin?
Well, let's find out, Ken. I'm going to bring up his channel. John, are you there?
I hear you. I don't know if you hear me.
Oh, yeah, you're fine. Loud and clear, 10-4 and all that.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is Ken Santarelli, also known as Serge, and I went through great lengths to get us a special guest, Dr. Jonne Cobin. He's also known as Dr. Chile. He is the guy that helped me get here. John, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I've been a Chilean consultant here for many years. I've lived in Chile the better part of 22 years. I'm obviously bilingual English and Spanish. My doctorate's in public policy from George Mason University, where I studied under Walter Williams and others in the 1990s. I also have a master's degree in economics and another one in business economics from the University of California, Santa Barbara. I have an undergraduate degree from Reformed Bible College. I'm evangelical Christian, a Baptist, Calvinist, amillennial. How much else do you want me to define myself? I have 7 children. All of them live in the United States, and they're all except for one, are in their adult lives and careers there. I'm married to a Chilean woman that lives with me here, obviously, in being in Del Mar, Chile. So I don't know what else I can share with you as a brief introduction. Anything else you want to know, just ask.
I got to respond to your question from yesterday where you said on the live broadcast, why do they need English language radio stations down there for people like me who don't know a drop of Spanish? The only thing I can say is dos equis.
Yeah.
Since it's my
that
show.
Could change. I mean, I wasn't born knowing Spanish either. It's unfortunate. If you're going to live in a Spanish-speaking country, you're just going to have to learn Spanish.
And guess what? And you're going to have to be Catholic. Do you believe in Jesus?
I have to be Catholic?
Well, you have to believe in Jesus. Well, do you believe in Jesus? Let's start there, because I know Catholic is such a strong word. I mean, just Jesus and Mary, and the whole story, and Peter and God. I know that's such a big story for people. So let's just start with Jesus, because that's more simple. Catholic's a big, you got to take the whole story with Jesus and Mary having Jesus and Joseph and the whole thing. So on Jesus, do you believe in Jesus? Because they like to rip Jesus out and just have him by himself and non-denominational, and you can have gay marriage and you can't have gay marriage and this, and then they make it all up instead of, no, you can't. There's boundaries and there's rights and there's wrongs, and it does come from God. Okay, so do you believe in Jesus? I asked you a question.
I already answered that earlier. Maybe you didn't hear it.
I didn't. I'm sorry.
I'm an evangelical Christian. I'm a Baptist. I'm amillennial.
Oh,
I'm a Calvinist.
wait a
I'm
minute.
Not a Catholic.
You're a Baptist in a very Catholic country, and I'm a Catholic in the Bible Baptist belt, because I have never been so criticized for being so Catholic, except for here in Kansas City. And they said, hey, honey, you're in the Bible belt. So I did want to say this before we start. your voice is coming through so clear from Chile. It's blowing my mind how clear you're coming through, which I love.
I have download speed of 465 megabytes per second and upload at 72 because we have fiber optics after we eliminated communists here. And I don't think you understand a few things about Chile. I'll go ahead and let you know. Chile is a country with about 65% nominally Catholic people. 5% of them are serious Catholics that are Opus Dei or other varieties like Legionnaires of Christ. About 18 or 19% of the population is evangelical Christian, and that includes mostly Pentecostals. Although there are many who are Baptists and Presbyterians, I find them to be extremely weak here. So it's not I would say that more people, as I've heard before, attend Protestant services on Sunday than Catholics do in their masses. So to say that I'm isolated down here as an evangelical is a mistake. It's probably evangelicals are probably the most active religion in Chile right now.
Brother, I appreciate what you're saying. I'm a born again believer myself, and so it's good to meet you. My name's John, and I host a ministry radio show up here in Kansas City myself, and I interview local pastors and ministry leaders. So, and I appreciate what you're saying there. So,
I'll be happy to answer the questions. I'm here to be helpful. I was invited to come here, and I'm happy to talk about Chile. I have a 1,600-page book I've written that sells slowly but well, and a lot of people who are interested in coming to Chile and leaving the land of the free for a freer life and a place where they can live and serve the Lord, or even if they're not Christians at all, just want to come and be freer from the situation you've got in the United States. I help them come here. I also help them come from Europe, and I guess I become sort of a resident expert on Chile from someone who's lived from the United States. I'm 55 years old. As I said, I've got a lot of kids and a lot of experience, as behind me. I also am an EU citizen because of my Italian heritage. So I have links to Europe as well as the United States. And I'm just real pleased to be able to answer questions you have.
Okay,
I
have a question.
My faith, by the way. I
have a question.
A belief.
I have a question because I have a question. Can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I have a question. Since, it's my show and I work my tail off to be able to have a show and to do radio, and I love it. And I think the whole thing is to really discuss the tough issues. Being Catholic, I actually think your heritage is 100% Catholic because you said you're Italian. So you were probably Catholic or your heritage or where you were, your origins. And so I just think that that's so important because so many people, even in my family, they're like, well, we can do what we want. No, you can't do what you want. You don't get to make it up. If you don't like the Catholic Church and you don't like this, then you don't get to just pick another religion and decide, well, this is good, I like this, and pick it. And I do think that's what's wrong in America, and I think that's what's becoming wrong in the world because if you look at France was predominantly Catholic, and now they do what they want, and it's led to a lot of problems worldwide. Now, that's my perspective, and it is hard. I'm Catholic. It has been very difficult, but that's when you say life is difficult. So it is a narrow path, and you've got to, get up and walk it. And, to me, as I become older, my Catholic faith means more and more to me because those boundaries that I want my children and my grandchildren, I actually respect my mother and my grandmother that I didn't like it when I was a kid because I thought, oh, they're just pushing religion. They're just making me go to church. Now I'm so honored and I understand why they went until their later part of life, until they died, because they did think if I can pass one thing on, it would be boundaries in a church that isn't just going to change, that isn't just going to make it up, that isn't just going to say, well, we evangelize, that we like this pastor. Now this pastor did this. Now we don't like them. The Catholic Church has been criticized horribly, but in that criticism, it really defines who they are and makes them have to stand or be by the wayside. Now, these other churches that do these great mission trips that Catholics have done for centuries, starting with the nuns here in America, that a grandfather in a family had to stay at an orphanage. They've been doing mission work forever. Not just, oh, well, we want to do a mission and go to, another country, and they kind of copy the Catholics. But the reason I bring that all up is the Catholic faith is so important as far as standing on a rock and standing and not being able to be budged. And I think Trump and politically, it's such a time now when, well, this is how I'm going to put it. And I just don't talk about religion. I just want you to talk about politics. So answer this specific question. Let's not get back to religion. Here's what I see happening in America. And I would, if you know what's happening in America, this is the direct question. I was thinking last night before getting on the radio today that watching Fox News and watching CNN and then hearing a show we have on KCXL where actually there was a group that got permission to be in politics to see the latest thing in England, and they had such a positive perspective, and all CNN did was criticize and crucify Trump. Here's my thing, that we've become a country in America where the news is so different that it's almost, and I was telling my husband, two different worlds. We have CNN that says everything Trump does is wrong, and then you get so many conflicting opposite reports from Fox. The way you look at America, do you believe what I'm saying, that it's almost like you don't even know the truth with the fake news, but that it's actually two different worlds of news? You've got news that is one complete, he did this. Then you get another news broadcast that says he did this, and this, almost the opposite. Could you comment on just the differences? And it used to be ABC, CBS, and NBC. Now it's, you don't even know because they're so extreme. One's so left and one's so right. So the news you're getting in Chile, what do you think about the news in America being so polar opposite? Could you comment on that?
Well, I can comment on all that. Just leave me some leeway to do so. Again, I'm happy to be invited to your show, but and I appreciate you're trying to direct it a bit, but you're very scattered in that, not really a question. It's all over the place. So let me start with this. I've renounced my American citizenship. I look at with certain amount of interest at what happens in the United States and Trump. I think Trump is basically a fascist and ignorant in economics. I would not have voted for him. I am a libertarian. And therefore, I have somewhat of an objective view. Ron Paul was my last favorite up there. By the way, if you look at the Bishop of Milan in the 5th century, you'll find that Baptists were around at that time, persecuted in Italy. And if you read a book about the Israel of the Alps, you'll find that Baptists lived in Italy for many centuries and were persecuted by Catholics mercilessly, just like they were later by Protestants. So Italy has as much of a Baptist heritage as it does a Catholic heritage, although Catholics are woefully ignorant of history, and I think Baptists are too, by the way. But I will leave that matter aside for now. If you'd like to go back and talk about that again, that's fine. But I will always stand up for Jesus Christ and the Bible rather than a false religion like the Catholic Church has become. And I will leave it there. If you want to talk more about religion, great. Otherwise, I'll just move on. As far as politics goes, I will say that here in Chile, I moved here because it's a freer country. It's a freer market. And the things that go on in the United States are very ungodly, not only because it's the pornography, abortion, and whatever else capital of the world for the most part as far as producing these ideas, and especially with the academic sense of political correctness, radical feminism, radical ecology, and the other isms you have there. The warfareism also is very egregious to me, that you can just go around and slaughter people in the world and not consider them to be equal human beings like others and others are. So those kinds of policies I don't like. I do not like stopping immigrants from coming into countries or separating families or the things that Trump has been willing to do. I don't know if news is all fake or partially fake in the United States, but I think it's completely manipulated. It's a joke. I feel sorry for anybody that has to live up there and put up with it. And that's why I encourage people to leave. I'm sorry that you're there, whether you're a Catholic or not. I welcome Catholics to come here to Chile, and many have. My best friend in the world is a Catholic, and he lived here for 5 years before going back for a job in the land of the free, and he can't stand what goes on up there. But you do have to hold your nose and live where you choose to live because you think it's somehow important to be up there and stay and fight or whatever other nonsense reason you have for staying in such a horrible place. But I've left, and I have done what people say, if you don't like it, leave it, or if you don't love America, leave it. I've left it. I'm not here. You're talking to a person who's actually completed the round of renouncing the citizenship, paying the price, asking permission to leave, but it's not easy to leave the United States, by the way. The slave master will not let you go if you owe taxes, or they won't let you go if they have some other problem with you, if you don't pay their $2,000 or $3,000 fee to get out. Well, I've done all that. I've stood there before the flag and in the embassy in Santiago and renounced. So I'm gone. And to me, it's just amusing, but sorrowful that I have to watch, especially because my kids live up there and have to put up with it, the nonsense. High taxes, police brutality. You've got out of control bureaucracy and regulation. Your taxes are through the roof. You guys live to pay for the state. It's basically to abuse you most of the time when you could be living in a freer, saner place and choose not to.
Hey, I had a question about immunizations because it's been a big, and one of my best friends is Baptist, and she's like, Jonne, I've never seen a Catholic like you in my life. And I said, yeah, and she goes, but it's a good thing. And so I agree with you on the abortion and the pornography, and my heart goes out to young men that just think it's the way to go and, that they've been manipulated. So I agree with you 100% on that. I feel like standing up for being Catholic, even in America, I mean, you're bad just being Catholic. You're bad. You're talking about politics. I put on a Trump hat, and I worry like sometimes on my safety. So it's a very political, volatile time right now in America, which makes me sad. And I've thought about leaving too. I was thinking about the Bahamas, but then and I pray a lot, and I do go to church a lot, and I am, as I said, really Catholic. I believe Hail Mary brought us Jesus, and so I say the Hail Mary all the time. But more importantly, it's like if I leave, then I'm a coward because it means I can't stand up, and I want to stand up for my kids because I want to teach my kids how to stand. Now, that doesn't mean fight. That doesn't mean put anyone down. That doesn't mean, because in my Catholic faith, I was taught don't put down any other faith ever. And you're not allowed to because we're all brothers and sisters. So I will never put down your faith. So what I'm saying is if I run to the Bahamas or I run to Chile, or I'm going to leave my kids here and then I'm going to say, kids, just run. I want to be a good role model. And now, having said that, what would it take me to leave? Well, then you also imitate Jesus. If Jesus, actually in the Catholic Church, this priest said the best thing actually this Sunday. He said, if people are being a certain way, then dust your feet and go. Because Jesus also doesn't want you stuck. You have to suffer. Suffering's part of life, and Jesus suffered and all that. But if you really believe that you're trying to say something and do something, like Mr. Serge here, who went to Chile. Now, I was very concerned for him because I love him dearly, and we all love him at KCXL, and he did a phenomenal job on the radio. And he is a quality person. And his father was amazing and extremely intelligent. But I was worried about his safety. But think of Mary and Joseph and Jesus and all the safety with King Herod. I mean, they were constantly worried about him. So you don't make a decision on that. But if my kids are here, I guess, here's what I'm thinking at this point in life. Because things are so crazy and things are changing, then maybe you do have to pray and discern. I'll just give you a quick story, and I do jump around a lot. 2 years ago, we had a tornado that was 1 mile from my home. Actually, in the tree in Oak Grove, because I live in Grain Valley, Missouri, in Oak Grove, they left a part of metal to show everyone when you're driving through, here's what can happen to you in a minute. So I said, okay, God's going to tell me to get in the basement. And then we started talking about stories like, what would be the one thing you'd bring to the basement? And I thought the best answer someone came up with was a Bible. I said a picture of my mom if I lost everything, okay? The next year, we got floods. So I think God was saying, okay, you can be in your basement, but then if there's a flood, if I run to another country, is that the answer? So I think the reason God gives us a brain and not a computer is you have to discern. There isn't just one answer, because God, like even coming up here today, I almost got in a car accident because for 1 second I turned off my windshield wipers and the rain was torrential and I skidded and I said, oh my gosh, I'm not going to go today, am I? But I really do believe God intervened and got me back on the road. But for a second, it rained so hard, I couldn't control the car. And there were cars skidding around. So I think God is always challenging us, and Jesus, you need to discern. And that's why it says in the Bible, always keep your guard up. Be vigilant at all times, because if there's a tornado coming and you were going west, you can no longer go west. So if it gets so bad here, you know, I don't want to leave, though. I love America, but I know that my grandfather had to get in a boat. He loved Poland. And at the age of 12, and it's so wonderful, he wasn't a baby because we got to hear the stories. He actually, because he was so young and people were sick, he actually ran water on the boat. He was 12, and he came to America with gold because that's what they brought, and he had money. But from the boat, because they stuck him on a boat at age 12. But he was running with water to people that were sick. And then he opened up a store in Rhode Island at a young age. And then, you know, and then go in the Depression, and then he had to have a gun and all that whole story. But maybe it is about discerning. So when did you discern? Were you born in America?
Yes, I obviously, if you listen to my accent, I'm culturally American. I was born there. I've gone through all the phases of being a Rush Limbaugh Christian and conservative, and then other things before I became a libertarian. And I lived in America for basically better part of 40 years. So Chile is a safer place than America. The Bible says the righteous or the wise man foresees evil and hides himself. And the best thing you can do for your family is not to be the typical ignorant American that stays up there for no good reason when he should be going, and just leave and have a safe place for your kids to come to when it all comes down. The easiest way to get out is to go and book a flight. There's several that leave every day from the United States, and get on the plane and leave. It's not that difficult. Chile will be happy to receive you as an American citizen. You can get a tourist visa in the airport and immediately apply for residency. In fact, I have a company which does residency services to help people for the first year and a half get through temporary visas and permanent residency. And then later on, they can get on to citizenship. And after they have a new passport, they can renounce American citizenship, get out of FATCA and other compliances to file tax returns and all the rest. You live in a very evil place. And if you think tornadoes are the only thing you face that are bad, which are bad, I agree. Look at your state. How many homeschooled Catholics have lost their children to the state, or Baptists for that matter, in your precious country? How many people up there suffer in family courts when crazy women, 85%, divorce their husbands, take the kids away, and the kids can never see their dad again?
I got divorced, but the father was still the father. It was my mistake. The kids should not have to pay ever. I don't care. Yep. Do you always, and when they didn't pay the child support, all that, the kids still got to see their dad. And here's why. The dad's the dad, period, always. And that's why, you know.
You are a good person. You're compared to others. I mean, that is not the norm for your country.
That is true.
Your
I
country
agree.
is to steal children and blast dads.
I agree.
And that's how evil it's.
No, I agree with you on that, because if a dad doesn't pay child support, they're going to catch up with them. But a child is only a child for a certain time. You let the child see the dad. Now, I'm not saying I'm perfect, because there was a lot of critical comments made, both sides. But I never, ever, because it didn't even make sense to me, and it still doesn't. If we're fighting, that's a fight between a husband and a wife, or an ex-husband and an ex-wife. The kids, you know, that's, hey, they have to, kind of deal with all of it. And not only that, after they grow up, the father's still the father. So you can't, But what I wanted to ask you is on the immunizations, because that's where I think in America we are so, and on a Catholic show, there was a Catholic doctor who said, they're now in America giving 9 shots, and he's trying not to be critical because he wants to stay being a doctor, but he wants people to question it, which I think is so intelligent. Instead of just saying, well, these doctors that are for immunizations are ignorant or this or that. No, how about this? Do we really want to give children 9 vaccinations at one point? And he brought up something I never even thought of, and it was on Catholic radio on our station, which is called Relevant Radio, not Catholic radio, because they hit these tough issues, is the one girl went home after getting these immunizations, and she said, my child did wonderful because she went and laid down. And the doctor, the Catholic doctor, said, no, your child didn't do wonderful. A kid is supposed to play and be active, because some of the kids scream and have immediate side effects because, well, even the college kids that are getting immunizations. And then I do think you are right on some of the evil parts of America. I think giving these girls now and boys these immunizations at age 12 and 13, I don't know if you've heard about this, but the Catholics, especially a Catholic doctor that from Florida that we interviewed, he's written a book about it because he is livid. He went to a conference and he raised his hand and said, hey, wait a minute. Why are we giving immunizations to teenagers? Well, we're just going to tell them it's a cancer preventative. And he goes, wait a minute. That's a lie. Now, he's probably going to get kicked out of being a doctor, a Catholic doctor, but he's trying to have his own practice. And I actually want to go see him in Florida because imagine the money that the pharmaceutical companies and the doctors and the hospitals will get if every teen, boy and girl, has to get an immunization, and then they scare the parents by saying, well, you can get cancer. Now, that to me is evil, and abortion is evil. And we're tricking our young girls and boys into thinking, oh, abortion's okay, just take a pill. It's wrong. So in Chile, I want to know if the laws did change, because me and Mr. Serge are in a thing, because I had heard a report that the young people in Chile were wonderful and said, we don't want abortion. Then I heard they did allow abortion. Could you correct me and listeners? Is abortion legal in Chile?
Yes, and I'll get to that in just a second. The short answer is no, but immunizations are not something I can comment on in general because I'm not an expert in that area. But if you choose willfully to live in a place where such evil is inflicted upon you, when you have the option and the ability to leave, then really, who is at fault?
True.
And why are you still complaining about it? This kind of evil is just one of many that goes on up there in the United States, and you need to just get out and forget it. There is no way that Trump's going to bring it back, or somehow the United States is going to be resurrected from the low that it's sunk to. Chile has been for years, like Ireland, although they've just changed, one of the few countries in the world where abortion is completely illegal. That changed slightly a few years ago. Actually, it was just a year and a half ago, really, when we had the socialist president convince the Supreme Court to allow the so-called 3 exceptions, which are for rape, the inviolability of the fetus, and I believe it was the life of the mother. Now, which are just preposterous, ridiculous, leftist incursions here. We are, of course, working to reverse it. Most Chilean people, the vast majority, are against it, but most Chileans are also ignorant. They don't understand that the morning after pill is actually an abortifacient that really causes death of a human being, a person. They need to be educated as well. However, the issues that we have now are also being confronted by businesses, which are refusing to do the abortions. When you do these exceptional abortions, when we have fertility here, that people go in for fertility enhancement, if they fertilize in a test tube 10 ovums, all 10 have to go in the uterus. They're not allowed to discard or kill one of the conceived eggs still. And so that gives you a difference of how Chile is compared to the United States.
Yeah.
They don't have a death penalty here because having a death penalty implies that the state, someone could be malicious, lying like they are in the United States, and put to death on a matter of vengeance or vendetta, somebody they don't like, even though he's innocent. And so I'm in favor of that. I would normally be in favor of a death penalty if we could truly put to death murderers, like, for instance, abortion doctors or others, anybody who takes innocent life. But as long as the state's involved, which is wicked by its nature, and they are able to simply kill people who are innocent, then I'd prefer to have no death penalty at all, because that is the reality of the world we live in. So I hope that answers your question briefly.
Yeah, well,
again, you went on with a lot there. But.
Well, no, it really is, because you have such a different perspective. I think it's really neat because, I mean, you're seeing the world. I mean, I grew up in America. I heard a lot about Poland, but I've never been outside of the country. So I think
You know what they say? The person who really thinks that America is the best thing in the world is the person who doesn't have a passport.
I didn't think that. I just thought that, I grew up here, and it's to me, I don't want to lose. I feel like for me right now, it's my time to stay and to stand up for this country, because if we all leave, then we kind of lost. But I do believe, like what I said before,
you're just the typical ignorant American that believes nonsense trained from the public school
I
or
disagree.
whatever.
I don't think it's ignorant. I think if you've really thought about it, that you're really being mean and mean-spirited to say it's ignorant. I think a lot of us people know how to think, and we know what we stand for, and we stand for certain things, and we stand for our country. And me, I've had to stand for being Catholic in the Bible Belt, and my mom had to stand up for things. And she told me, no, you're going to church. I'm so thankful she made me go to church every Sunday. In fact, I think it's the best gift she ever gave me, because after she died, what do I have left? I don't have her anymore. And I think a priest kind of really nailed it. A Catholic priest, a wonderful Catholic priest. See, I think where we put all these Catholic priests in the bad bag, that's not true, because you can't put everybody in a bad bag. That's not even real. But radio show hosts and, manipulative governments. Here's what I say, though, on that. The priest said, how many of you, and I'm going to ask you this question, do you know who your great 7 generation ago grandfather, do you know his name? I'm asking a question.
I know up to the 5th. There was no birth certificate beyond there.
Okay, 7th. The point is this.
Like I said, I've been
okay,
for the
let me finish my question. Okay, you do not know. You do not know. So you said no. You do not know. Okay.
Right.
I don't either. I don't know my 7th. I only know back 3, maybe 4. I don't even know about 4. Mm-hmm. Okay, so the point is this, though. My mother made sure that I knew who Jesus was and brought me to church every Sunday to hear stories about Jesus, and brought me, being Catholic, brought me to CCD every Wednesday so that I could learn stories about Jesus, because she knew she was going to pass. She knew she didn't even know who her great, but she thought, well, they gave me life and gave the next one life. And you know what? It's sad, because even my mom died young. My kids, and she said on her deathbed, I just want him to know me, my son. And we all cried our eyes out, because we knew he never would. But I want my son to know who Jesus is. I talk about Jesus all the time. Now I talk about my mom, but for 4 generations, they're not even going to know, because they can't. Yeah, they might see a picture, they may not. It doesn't matter digitally. But what matters is my mother felt it was so important to get off her butt and bring us to church. Now, where I think people are ignorant, you use the word ignorant, I think about 10 times. I think you maybe overused it. But what I think is ignorant is so many people not bringing their children to church, not even taking the time. So let me ask you, when you are with your children, do you bring them to the church or whatever you believe is so important as far as God and Jesus? Is that an active part? Because I talked about Jesus with my kids the second they could breathe.
More than you can possibly imagine. And my oldest son, when he
I believe
rejected
it.
Christ to become an atheist, he said, "Dad, the thing that really bothers me the most is you could have been so great, as bright as you are, but you allowed Jesus Christ to define you. And everything we did in life had to be around the Bible." So my kids, they went
Well,
to
I think
church when
that's
the church doors
wonderful.
were open, and I am dedicated completely to Jesus Christ and in my family life and otherwise. And that's why one reason I'm not a Catholic and why I've been a Baptist, because Jesus says he is the way, the truth, and the life, and no one goes to the Father except by him. We don't use intermediaries. We don't confess to
Well, he
priests.
had
We
to get
don't
on the
use
air
to
through Mary.
Mary.
So, well, he had to get. And you know what? I would ask you to pray for me because really, as a Catholic, that's all I do. Hey, Mary, will you please pray for me? But I'd ask you, please pray for me. And Serge, I know Serge is listening. Serge, please pray for me because I've been praying. He knows I've been praying for him. And, you know, I think it's good to disagree, though. That's why I do this show. I have to respect your opinions, and you don't have to respect mine, but I have to respect yours. But I think what's happening in America, it used to be debate, and now it's hate. If you disagree, it's now a big fight instead of when I was growing up, which you could be a Republican, Democrat, Christian, not Christian, atheist, not, you know what I mean? We used to be able to disagree more free. Now, if you get in a conversation in Chile and you say you're for Trump or for Obama, do you ever feel like people are just talking about it, or do you feel like it becomes a fight?
People here generally do not speak English. They can only understand what Trump or Obama believe for the amount that's translated for them in the press. And therefore, they have very limited opinions about both. They have no idea what you're talking about. And as far as I'm concerned, you're absolutely right. That's what I've seen America turn into. And again, the question is, why in the world would you stay in a place like that when you have the option to leave and go to a better place for you and your family? That's what I did.
I love
because it's the only
America.
rational choice.
I love America. I really do. When it comes
So
down to
what?
I thought you said you didn't love America.
No, I didn't say that. I'm culturally an American. I'm sad for what's happened in America,
Okay.
but I knew there was a time to leave, and that's now. And it's been that way for the last 20 years. It's just been going downhill. I mean, imagine looking back and thinking that Bill Clinton is actually a better president than
Yeah.
what we've had in the recent times. That's amazing.
I agree with that statement because you know what? I've thought about that, and I'm like, boy, we're looking at Bill Clinton saying that he was more moderate and more in the middle. And I've actually thought what you just said. I never thought that about Hillary, though, because I just, I think her defining moment is when she did the debate and said she was for late-term abortion, and Trump stood up and said, no, late-term abortion's wrong. He knew he was going to lose votes, but he didn't care. He took a stand, and he did lose votes, but he also got votes for saying that. Now, what I think it's interesting that Chile really has spoken out against abortion, and I'm so sad that they decided. And then Ireland recently, that is just it, because it shows that, you know, the next step and the next step and the next step. And the other thing here, what do you think about the hospitals down there? Because now in America, I am concerned that in the hospitals, if they don't want to give you the care, I mean, it's just been in the past 10 years, and I've worked as a nurse where if a person was conscious, even not conscious, but the family said, hey, we want to do the tube feeding, and all that is so simple, is putting a tube in your stomach and then pouring a can of Ensure. It's a very simple procedure. A little child could do it for a grandparent. So it's not like tubes and respirators and electricity. You don't need electricity to have a tube. You can be out in a Chilean forest with nothing except a can of Ensure and pour it in a tube into your stomach and live and drink water. So having said that, in the past 10 years, though, it's changed in America, where now you don't even have to nourish someone. And I think that is sick. Now, in Chile, if you go into a hospital and the doctor says, okay, we're not going to do the tube feeding, they're going to just die. And, you know, I'm not making judgments on that because that's another country. In America, they should do it because we have the capability and we have the money and we have the tubes. Some other countries may not, or they do, or the whole thing. What is their stand, though, on dying naturally? If you go into a hospital, will they give you the tube feeding, or is it, dependent on where you live, insurance? Could you comment on health care in Chile?
I can. Healthcare is fabulous here. People even come from America and say it's the best healthcare south of the Rio Grande. The only possible other exception might be the Einstein system in Sao Paulo, Brazil. So we have excellent healthcare here, and we also have very private healthcare. We don't have maladies like Obamacare and whatnot. I have excellent coverage, 100%, basically anything I need to have done for $175 a month. So
excellent.
Having said that as an introduction, as far as the morality goes, remember that people here are not like American culturally, where they divorce their parents, they cast away old people, they deal with, there are some bad people here like that. I'm not saying they're not. There are communists here that are really bad. I'm not saying that Chile's a perfect country. What I am saying is that people have a different respect for elderly people. People are often taken home to die at home with their families. Other times they do have to go to, care facilities, I guess, skilled care facilities, I guess we call them in the U.S., because they have Alzheimer's and the family can't care for them. That does happen too. In a hospital, I don't know if there's any specific policy, but I can't imagine Chilean people not doing everything they possibly can to keep an elderly person alive if they can, because they value life here. You don't value life in the United States. In the United States,
true.
you have a culture of death. You
Yeah.
have a culture of abortion. You
Yeah.
have a culture of euthanasia. You have a culture of bombing other people with drones or otherwise and killing innocent people. That is the culture that you live in. So you have to be careful not to transpose the thought of the American death culture on other places in the world which do not accept it.
True. Because the latest thing, I don't know if you knew this, the latest thing in California, which a Catholic group, which is why I'm still Catholic doctors in California, the Oregon thing, where you can now just die, they're now saying in California they want to be able to have the doctor be able to give someone a pill so that they can just die. Well, here's the thing. Then you're upset for a day. I get upset almost every other day or every day. Then I just want a pill. I mean, we're sliding down. But here's what happened. The Catholic doctor said, I'm not giving them a pill to die because I don't think it's right. And they said, well, you're going to have to. No. So these Catholic doctors got together and said, no, we're not just giving people pills to die because we have to write the script, which I thought was so wonderful. But the only reason I even knew about it was because these Catholic doctors stood up to it and don't think it's right to give these people pills. Other doctors, oh, it's okay. They want to die. They're in pain. Well, what about Jesus being in pain? What about my pain? What about your pain? What about we're all called to suffer? But I love it that you're saying respect the elders, because I do think part of Obamacare was they were saying people are going to decide who can die and who lives. Well, if you're in a culture of life where you believe, hey, you respect people and bring them home. Now, my mom had cancer. My dad did bring her home. That was her dying wish, and she got it. But I had to see him take care of her. It was really good, and nurses. And it was horrible suffering. But in the suffering, I also saw how to care for someone, not just put them in a nursing home. And so, and that actually ABC did a great report in a very poor country where the kid, the 5-year-old, the grandfather was blind, and the 5-year-old was walking with him, and he just stopped the whole interview and said, maybe we have it wrong and they have it right, which is, I think, what you're saying, essentially. Maybe we have it wrong in America. We're so busy working, and that's a good thing. Not if you're so busy.
By God's standards, you do have it wrong in America. There is no question. You have people that are seethe with hatred, that seethe with vengeance. They go around and want to hurt. That's why you have mass shootings. You have lunatics do crazy things because they have no morality up there. And if you think you're going to convince somebody who would support a person like Hillary Clinton or Bernie Sanders and make America great again, then you're living in a fantasy world. You live among people that are like beasts that have retrograded back in the so-called evolutionary chain. And I don't believe in macroevolution like that, by the way. But to use a Darwinian idea, you are living in a world of Neanderthals, where you're going back to the base nature of men, where life is simply beer and sex and violence, and has nothing to do with a culture of life. So, given that you're in that situation, and again, you have the resources to leave, why in the world would you stay there?
Because, okay, and we're out of time, because I love America, and you have to stand up for what you believe in, and you have to stand up for your children, and you have to show them.
You sound like Lot in the gate of Sodom and Gomorrah, giving excuses for why
I'm
he's
not
doing
giving
a
excuses.
really dumb
I get
thing.
on my knees every Sunday. There's no excuse. I agree with a lot of what you said, but that's why I get on my knees. And people have to live in poor countries and in bad countries all the time. There's so many good people in America. There's wonderful good people in America. Thank you so much. We're out of time. Thank you for listening to the Jonne Family Show. Hey, everyone, have a great week, and God bless your family.
Real quick before we go, this is KCXL Liberty, 1140 a.m. and 102.9 FM in Kansas City and 104.7 FM in Kansas City. Real quick, Serge, you want to say goodbye before we go to the news?
Yes, thank you for having Dr. Cobin on. It was great to be back with you, even though I didn't have much to comment, but hope to be back on again soon sometime.
Hey, Serge, we love you.
All right. Well,
Love
you got
too,
that.
Johnny and David and all.
All right. We're going to go ahead and go to the news, and then we'll go to Alex Jones after that, right here on KCXL.